Ein Sof is beyond gender. But the Zohar actually talks about Ein Sof very little, because what can you say about infinity? The main theme of the Zohar is the romance of God, the union of the male and female. And that brings us to Shechina. So what does Shechina mean? The word Shechina never appears in the Torah. When it first appears in rabbinic literature, it means the dwelling of God, God's dwelling in the world, what we call immanence. For example, the rabbis ask, why did God appear to Moses in the burning bush? Couldn't God have picked something a little more impressive? A sycamore tree, a cypress tree, a giant redwood? Why some shrub? Why did God appear to Moses in a shrub? To tell you, as it says here, the second quote on the page you have, En makom ba'aretz panui min hashchina. There's no place on earth empty of Shechina. This is a beautiful example of what Shechina means hundreds of years before the Zohar. The Shechina means God's presence in the world. Not just God's presence in the world, B'chol makom shegalu, wherever Israel went in exile, Shechina imahem. So Shechina is that aspect of God that accompanies the children of Israel. Shechina fills the world, but Shechina is specifically God's intimacy with the people. Now this is interesting. Who's the author of this statement? B'chol makom shegalu, Shechina imahem. It's Rabbi Akiva. Who is Rabbi Akiva? The teacher of Rabbi Shimon. This idea is in the Talmud, in the Midrash, but is central to the Zohar. The Zohar hundreds and hundreds of times talks about Shechina being in exile. So you could say one of the most central ideas in the entire Zohar goes back to the real Rabbi Shimon and his teacher Rabbi Akiva. The next quote is very interesting. Happy are the righteous, asher hemat tzadikim, for they cause Shechina to dwell on earth. Now that's strange. Shechina is on earth. Shechina means God's presence in the world. Why would anyone need to cause Shechina to dwell on earth? Shechina is on earth. And yet it's the righteous, you could say, that actualize the potential of Shechina. This really later becomes a very central idea in Kabbalah. God needs us. God is somehow incomplete without the human being. We actualize the divine potential. I think the most beautiful name I've ever seen for Shechina is Sod HaEfshar, the secret of the possible. That's a name for Shechina. It's not in the Zohar. It's not in any famous Kabbalistic text. There's one 14th century Kabbalist, the grandson of the Ramban, a man named David ben Yehuda Chassid. He calls Shechina Sod HaEfshar, the secret of the possible. And I think that's really behind this statement here. Happy are the righteous, for they cause Shechina to dwell on earth. Shechina is already here, but Shechina is potentially here. It's up to us to actualize that divine potential by how we live our lives, by what we discover within our consciousness, by how we act out that discovery day by day.